Hey there everyone, I'm Jack with Sioux Falls Dent Repair. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about pre and post diagnostic scanning and why is it important with paintless dent repair. So basically we were working on today, if you're following me along on Instagram here, I was doing a 2012 Volkswagen Jetta with some hail damage on it. So it was a vehicle that had quite a bit of damage in it, but the customer actually decided to go a little more cost effective and fix selected panels, certain dents and whatnot. We talked a little bit about that yesterday. But today I actually had to take the taillight out of the quarter panel in order to gain access to the quarter panel dented area. So before we can take anything apart on any of the new model vehicles, we actually have to run what is called a pre-scan. So what is that? So what a pre-scan is I actually hook a diagnostic scan tool like the one I have right here in front of me, or well, behind me. But anyways, and I actually hook it up to the vehicle, and then I actually run a scan prior to doing anything on the vehicle. So I'm not working on it, I'm literally driving it in the shop, hooking up the scan tool, and running a scan right away before I take anything apart. So what that does is it sets basically a baseline for the vehicle. So what that does is it'll tell me all the pre-existing conditions on the vehicle. So as far as it'll have, vehicles have codes for battery power loss or some type of maybe a wheel sensor, mass airflow intake, or something. So most vehicles, even new ones, have some type of a code. So you ask, well, why does it matter what the engine has for codes or something like that? Well, why that matters, it's not necessarily engine-wise, but what I'm looking for is codes that are pertaining to things that I'm going to be working on. So for instance, if a vehicle had, so let's flip the camera around here. So like this Dodge Dart, for instance, we're actually in the process of going with the insurance on the hail damage estimating on this. So let's say, for instance, this vehicle here also requires a scan prior to working on it, which I have done already. Let's say, for instance, it's got something to do with like a dome light, a tail light, a headlight module or something like that is having a fault of some kind. And that's happened before I've even touched the vehicle. So I want to make sure that I scan the vehicle to get a health setting or basically a pre-existing condition for the vehicle. So, all right, so enough chatting. Let's go ahead and show you some of the figures here as far as this Volkswagen that we were working on this afternoon. So we've got the pre-scan here. So basically what this is this is showing all of the pre-existing codes in it. It even has a timestamp for as far as when it was actually done, and it's not changeable once it's actually performed. So we have an actual date and timestamp as far as when the codes were ran. So this vehicle here, prior to doing any type of taking the vehicle apart, had two type of codes on it. One for an engine control module, as you can read there, intake manifold runner position sensor. Okay, so it's got a circuit there that's bad, as well as the radio, tuner not enabled or activated. So, okay, so none of that's going to actually be pertaining to anything that I'm going to be doing on the vehicle. Now, if I was taking the headliner down like I would in a traditional hail damage repair car, this is one that we agreed upon not to take it down and actually do glue pulling. So, if I have to unplug the antenna and that code shows up after and I didn't do a pre-scan, it would look like it was my fault that that antenna code popped up. So, don't want to have that. I don't want to leave the car with any type of codes after I've worked on it by any means, especially anything that's pertaining to what I did. So anyways, so kind of touching base with you on that Volkswagen, I actually had to take the right taillight out of it. So why is that important? So I actually ran a test like I showed you here prior to doing any types of codes or anything like that. And then when I'm done with the vehicle here, I actually run a post scan. So after the repairs are done, I actually run another scan to check the health of the vehicle. So this is pretty interesting. So here's kind of the overall sheet here. So it's got all your codes. So just like the first one here. So as you can see, we got one fault, and then the telephone system actually passed. So we're good there. So 2 codes total on the pre. After I worked on the vehicle right here, you can see, okay, we've got the same engine control module code, but we've got central electronics. What's going on here? Okay, there's 4 codes that pertaining to this vehicle here. So what that means is from me taking just the taillight out, unplugging it, setting it aside, doing my repairs, and plugging it back in, I've got 4 codes related to that. So let's look a little bit deeper on this. What the codes are for is, wow, what do you mean? What do you know? Right taillight. So right taillight, another right taillight. 4 codes related to just the taillight alone. So now that we've got the vehicle back together, everything's all good to go. We're checking out the codes like I mentioned. That's showing a code that popped up from our repair. So what we go ahead and do then is we're going to go ahead and actually erase those codes that are pertaining to what we did. But most importantly here, we're actually going to leave these ones on here, the ones that were pre-existing, the engine control module, and as well as the radio code. So a lot of people go, well, why would you leave codes in the vehicle when it goes down the road? Well, the reason why I want to leave those codes actually in the system here is because those are stuff that is not pertaining to anything we did. And if they were to take it to, let's say, the dealership or some mechanic shop and actually have the codes set up, or they decided to fix that intake sensor code that it had, I'd be erasing all of the footprint of that code. So my scan tool will tell me the mileage that happened, how many key starts or cycles it's had, and how many times that code is like basically re-popped up essentially. So the last thing I'd want to do, and a mechanic would hate me if I did this, to actually go through and delete the codes. So I want to leave those for the customer to take to a mechanic to have them proceed with it from there. So we don't do any type of mechanic work or anything like that, but we'd be happy to refer you over to some. So now we do actually mention all this to the customer. If for some reason they are wanting us to clear those codes, we actually get authorization from them prior to doing it. The last thing, like I said, we don't want to make it more difficult for potentially if they're going to actually have the car fixed. So anyways, just wanted to touch a little bit on the pre and post diagnostic scanning here and why it's so important, even in a dent repair. Just taking a taillight out, literally taking it out, setting it aside, and putting it back in. 4 codes in the system. So it's pretty minimal as you can get. But did you know that the newer vehicles in today's I think it's the Fords and multiple other ones, they actually put the park sensors or the backup sensors and lane departure and all that kind of stuff. Those sensors are actually in the taillights. So now you've got a whole other can of worms you're going to open if you're taking them taillights out. So that's why you need to run a pre and post diagnostic scan. So if you've got any type of questions or anything about any types of our services here, you can actually contact us directly through, if you're watching this on Instagram, you can direct message us on Instagram or get a phone number right off there. If you're watching us on Facebook, you can message us on Facebook Messenger, obviously, or you can visit our website at SiouxFallsDentRepair.com. You can view a little bit of a portfolio of ours, videos, learn a little bit more, see what we fixed. Or if you'd like to just call us directly at 605-595-4061. We'd be happy to chat with you and get you scheduled in for your repair needs. Anyways, thanks for watching today there, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.